The stars stretched endlessly before the Velkari Union fleet, each one a distant sun in a sea of darkness. Their ships glided silently, sleek and silver, designed for speed and efficiency. Captain Threx of the Valkyr Vanguard had led fleets before, and he had never met a species that could resist them. In his mind, the humans ahead were just another small, primitive race, likely scattered, underdeveloped, and easy to control. As the fleet approached the edge of a quiet star system, a sudden message blinked onto the command console. It was simple, automated, and almost too polite to be threatening. Warning: unauthorized entry into human space will trigger an autonomous response. Proceed at your own risk, Threx frowned. He tapped the message, expecting some hidden trap. Is this some old relic system? He asked his communications officer, Lieutenant Vec. Humans are primitive, they cannot enforce anything. Vec shook her head. No, Captain. This is a live system, it's active, but it's not showing any military power, just automated protocols. Threx laughed. Protocols, it's a warning, nothing more. We've crossed boundaries before, nothing happens. We're faster, smarter, and stronger. Humans are just humans. The fleet pressed forward. At first, the system seemed ordinary. Planets spun lazily in their orbits, glowing with blue oceans and green continents. The fleet's long-range scanners reported nothing unusual, no fleets, no defense satellites, no signs of advanced weapons. The humans seemed peaceful, even invisible. Captain Threx felt a flicker of curiosity. No resistance, not even a patrol, he asked. Lieutenant Vec shrugged. Nothing, it's odd. The first anomaly appeared quietly. Sensors began showing strange readings. Navigation grids glitched. Long-range scanners picked up faint, almost impossible energy fluctuations. Ships started drifting slightly off course as if invisible forces nudged them. Check the systems, Threx barked. Something is interfering with navigation. Vec worked quickly, scanning, recalculating. Captain, all our systems are functioning. This is not a malfunction, it's intentional. Something or someone is controlling the space around us. Threx frowned. This was new. Never before had he seen technology that could subtly influence a fleet of their size without being seen, but pride and arrogance carried him forward. No matter. Humans cannot fight us. They have no fleets, no weapons that matter. Continue forward. The fleet entered deeper into human space. Still, no attack came. No lasers, no missiles, no shields rose. The silence was unnerving. Then the humans spoke, not with weapons, not with force, but with a calm, precise, and strangely formal message. You have entered human space without permission. Please provide fleet identification, purpose, and cargo manifest. Proceeding without compliance may result in containment. Containment? Threx's eyebrows shot up. He scoffed. Containment? What can they do? Their weapons. Their satellites. There is nothing here. The message repeated, polite but firm. Every attempt at communication from the Velkari was met with more human questions, more protocols, and more delays. The humans did not shout. They did not fire. They simply controlled the situation without moving a finger. Threx began to feel frustration. They are wasting our time, he said. We are not here to play games. But Lieutenant Vec looked uneasy. Captain, every time we try to send instructions, their system adapts. Every command we give, they anticipate. It's like the space itself is alive with them. The fleet moved cautiously. Civilian transports and research vessels were scanned, logged, and quietly rerouted. Minor obstacles appeared. Asteroid fields that weren't on any map, gravitational anomalies near planets, navigational markers that seemed to shift as if they knew the ship's paths in advance. Threx slammed his fist on the console. This is impossible. Humans are primitive. They should not have this power. Vex spoke softly, almost in a whisper. Maybe that's exactly why they can do this. They don't fight with weapons. They fight with intelligence, patience, and planning. Threx ignored her warning. Pride would not allow him to step back. We move forward, he said. We have the advantage, always. But the advantage slowly slipped away. Each ship in the Valkyrie fleet began consuming more energy than predicted. Systems overheated. Supplies that were supposed to last weeks showed rapid depletion. Communications experienced slight delays, not enough to panic a trained officer, but enough to unsettle an experienced captain. It was Lieutenant Vec who first noticed the strange pattern. "Captain, every time we take an aggressive action, a human system redirects it. They are not attacking us, they are controlling the space without fighting." Threx stared at the sensors. The calm blue and green planets below did not seem dangerous. They were beautiful, peaceful, ordinary. Yet somehow the humans were everywhere, watching, controlling, predicting. A new message arrived. It was neither hostile nor angry. "Valkyrie Union Fleet, you have violated human space. Our observation shows you have ignored previous warnings. We advise immediate withdrawal to avoid escalation. Compliance ensures your safety," Threx growled. "Safety? We don't need safety. We are the Union, we are unstoppable." Vex shook her head. "Captain, maybe that's exactly what they expect. Their warning was not a bluff. Humans are precise, patient, calculating." But Threx's pride would not allow retreat. He ordered the fleet to continue, assuming the humans would finally be forced to react. Yet nothing happened. No weapons, no fleets, no alarms. Only the quiet, invisible manipulation of every step they took. The Valkyrie officers began to notice something troubling. Every time they attempted to send ships to survey planets or scan resources, subtle obstacles arose. Routes became inefficient. Supplies became insufficient. Communication signals were rerouted, delayed, or subtly altered. It was as if human space itself reshaped itself around their presence. "What is happening?" barked a junior officer. "Our fastest ships are slowed. Our sensors lie, our calculations fail." Threx clenched his jaw. "We will not be fooled by tricks. We are the Valkyrie Union." But deep down, a flicker of unease grew. These humans, so ordinary, so primitive, were acting with an intelligence that rivaled the most advanced strategies the Union had ever faced. And they had done it without firing a single shot. Vec finally spoke, her voice steady but firm. "Captain, the warning was serious. It was not a threat, it was a promise. Humans defend themselves without violence until it is absolutely necessary." Threx stared at the message blinking on the screen. Polite, calm, yet absolute. "Unauthorized presence detected. Withdrawal advised." He swallowed hard. Never before had he felt so powerless. Not against weapons, not against firepower, but against sheer human foresight and strategy. The stars stretched endlessly ahead just as before, but now they seemed different. Dangerous, not because of armies or guns, but because of the quiet certainty that humans were watching, waiting, controlling, and the Valkyrie had no idea how far this quiet control could reach. As the fleet moved deeper into human space, the crew could feel it, the unmistakable weight of intelligence they could not challenge. And for the first time in their history, the Union wondered, had they underestimated a species they thought was weak because humans were never weak at all? The warning had been clear. The Valkyrie had ignored it. And that, they would soon learn, was a mistake unlike any other. Captain Threx sat in the command chair of the Valkyr Vanguard, eyes fixed on the vast starfield before him. The Valkyrie fleet had slowed to a near crawl, their ships drifting awkwardly as subtle forces pulled them off course. For the first time in his long career, Threx felt the heavy weight of uncertainty. Lieutenant Vec, her fingers dancing across the console, finally broke the tense silence. "Captain, our long-range sensors show a strange pattern. Human stations are activating, not weapons, not fleets, just systems. They are coordinating." Threx scowled. "Systems? What kind of systems? How can this matter to us? Humans are weak." Vec hesitated. "It's not weakness, Captain, it's control. They are managing space itself. Our ships, our paths, our supply chains, everything." A junior officer, pale and nervous, interrupted. "Sir, a civilian transport we tried to scan just changed direction. No force, no contact, it simply moved." Threx slammed his fist on the console. "Impossible, we are the Velkari Union. Nothing moves without our command." But the reality was impossible to deny. Every time they attempted to scan planets, survey asteroids, or chart new routes, the path subtly altered. Gravitational fields seemed to shift. Sensor readings were delayed or rerouted. Ships that tried to leave the fleet suddenly found their engines consuming far more fuel than predicted, forcing them to slow down. Vex's eyes widened. "Captain, they're containing us without a fight." The humans did not send weapons. They did not open fire. Instead, drones, small, precise, and unarmed, approached the Velkari ships. They scanned, cataloged, and recorded every movement. Every attempt by the Velkari to respond was met with polite but unwavering interference. A recalibration of space routes, a rerouting of supply lines, or a subtle disruption in communications. A calm, diplomatic message arrived across every ship. "Velkari Union Fleet, your presence is unauthorized. Please provide identification, purpose, and cargo details. Compliance will ensure continued safety and smooth operations within human space." Threx growled. "Compliance? I don't comply with primitives." "Tell them to leave us alone." Vex shook her head. "Captain, that's exactly what they expect. Humans do not respond to threats in the traditional sense. They control, predict, and wait." The fleet continued deeper into human space, but the further they moved, the more the environment changed. Space lanes that should have been clear were now twisted with invisible obstacles. Asteroids shifted subtly, just enough to force rerouting. Energy fields disrupted engines, not to destroy them but to slow progress. Every action by the Velkari was countered, not with weapons but with precision control of the environment itself. "Captain," a communications officer said nervously, "we cannot leave. Every route we try to take outside the system fails. Sensors show anomalies but no force, no attack." Threx slammed his fist on the armrest. "Then we fight with logic. We are the Velkari. Nothing can stop us." Vec leaned closer, her voice calm but firm. "Captain, the humans have already stopped us. You think we fight only with weapons, but this is strategy, patience, containment without aggression." A day passed, then another. The Velkari began to notice something unsettling. Supply ships could not dock efficiently. Energy transfer slowed without explanation. Even internal communication lines experienced subtle delays. "What trick is this?" Threx demanded. "Why are they doing this? We have done nothing to them." Vex's voice was steady. "Captain, this is the cost of ignoring a warning. Humans do not attack immediately. They do not fight with armies. They control the situation until surrender becomes the only option." A small, unarmed human vessel approached. It drifted in perfect formation with the Velkari fleet, never blocking, never aggressive. A message arrived, calm, polite, and unnervingly precise. "Velkari Union Fleet, you are moving through space you do not control. Our systems are designed to ensure your fleet operates safely while respecting human boundaries. Unauthorized maneuvers may result in containment. Withdrawal is recommended." Threx stared at the message in disbelief. "Containment, without weapons?" Vec nodded. "Exactly, they have no need for force. They already predict everything we do." Frustration and fear began to ripple through the Velkari fleet. Officers whispered among themselves, unsure if their commands were being subtly altered, delayed, or ignored. Even the most confident captains could feel the growing tension. Threx tried one final maneuver. "Set course for the outer systems. Break formation if necessary. Nothing can hold us here." Almost immediately, sensors reported anomalies along every possible route. Energy readings spiked, engines struggled, and long-range navigation failed. Ships attempting to leave the system experienced resistance, subtle, invisible, but impossible to overcome. Vex's eyes met Threx's. "Captain, you cannot leave, not because of force, because every path is controlled. They have contained us quietly." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The reality sank in. The humans, whom they had dismissed as weak, primitive, and insignificant, were not just defending their space. They were managing it. Every movement, every calculation, every decision by the Velkari fleet was anticipated and countered. Days stretched into weeks. The Velkari fleet's morale began to erode. Supplies dwindled. Engines overheated. Communications with distant fleets grew unreliable. The humans, meanwhile, did nothing overtly aggressive. They simply monitored, redirected, and ensured the Velkari could not leave. Another human message arrived. "Velkari Union Fleet, you are advised to withdraw. We enforce boundaries not with violence but with precision and foresight. Compliance ensures safety. Continued violation results in containment and observation. Choose wisely." Threx clenched his fists, rage boiling inside him. "We are the Velkari. We are not contained by anyone." Vex's calm voice cut through his anger. "Captain, this is exactly why they do not need to fight. Humans have contained you without confrontation. Every system, every supply chain, every route is under their control. You may think you are free, but you are not." For the first time, Threx felt powerless, not because of weapons but because of human intelligence. His pride, which had carried him through countless battles, faltered. The Velkari had always relied on strength and strategy, but here was a species that relied on something more subtle: planning, prediction, and patience. The fleet's officers met in tense meetings, debating their next move. Suggestions ranged from aggressive attacks to diplomatic negotiations. Every proposal was immediately countered by subtle, precise human interventions. Ships rerouted, supply lines delayed, communication channels shifted. Humans never fired a shot, yet every plan the Velkari made failed. Threx finally sat back in his chair, his mind racing. "They are everywhere and nowhere. We cannot fight them. We cannot escape. And yet they do not attack." Vec nodded. "That is human strategy, Captain. They contain, control, and predict. They never rush. They never panic. They do not need to fight, because by the time you realize the danger, it is already too late to act against them." The realization hit the Velkari fleet like a cold wind across the stars. They had entered human space thinking it was weak and unprepared. They had ignored warnings, laughed at the polite messages, and assumed victory was inevitable. Yet now, trapped in the heart of a quiet, seemingly ordinary system, they faced a truth they had never known. Humans did not need weapons to win. And the most dangerous thing of all, humans were still patient. They had not revealed the full extent of their control. Threx stared at the blinking lights on the command console, his mind filled with questions. How long could they resist? How long before humans revealed their full strategy? And, most importantly, what would happen if the Velkari made a mistake in this quiet, invisible battlefield? For now, the humans did not threaten. They did not attack. They simply waited, controlled, and ensured that the Velkari Union fleet could not move freely. And in that silence, the Velkari realized the warning had never been empty. It had been a promise. A promise the Velkari had ignored. The Velkari fleet drifted in human space, trapped without a single visible enemy. Captain Threx paced the bridge of the Valkyr Vanguard, his pride warring with the impossible reality before him. The fleet was strong, the ships unmatched in speed and firepower, but here, in this silent human system, none of that mattered. Lieutenant Vex studied the star maps projected before her. "Captain, every route we try is being monitored and adjusted. Our supplies are diminishing faster than expected. Our engines are burning energy at abnormal rates. The humans are controlling the environment itself." Threx rubbed his forehead. "Impossible. They cannot possibly manage all this at once. Our fleet is massive." Vex shook her head. It's not just one system, Captain. Every ship we try to send, every path we attempt to chart is anticipated and countered. They are containing us, not with weapons but with intelligence. A junior officer's voice trembled. Sir, some ships are reporting unexpected delays in their energy transfers. Navigation data is inconsistent. Even internal systems feel delayed. It's like the fleet itself is resisting our commands. Threx slammed a fist on the console. Then fix it. Override it. Vec looked up calmly. Captain, there is nothing to override. We are not facing an attack. We are facing foresight. Humans have built their systems to anticipate and adapt to any action. Our actions are being predicted and neutralized without conflict. The Velkari fleet's officers exchanged worried glances. They had always prided themselves on control, on power, on strategy, but nothing in their history had prepared them for this. Not battles, not ambushes, not even diplomacy. The humans did not fight conventionally. They controlled the rules of engagement themselves. Days passed, and the Velkari began to feel the weight of the humans' quiet dominance. Supplies dwindled, engines overheated, and morale sank. Every attempt to leave human space ended in frustration. Every effort to assert authority failed before it began. A human message arrived, calm and precise as ever. Velkari Union Fleet, your operations are unsanctioned. Our systems ensure your fleet's safety while maintaining human sovereignty. Continued violation will result in further containment measures. Cooperation is advised, Threx growled. Cooperation? We do not cooperate with primitives. Vex's voice was firm. Captain, this is exactly why humans do not need weapons. They make you comply without threat. Every system, every calculation, every action you take is anticipated. Resistance is futile. The fleet tried one last desperate strategy. Threx ordered a division of ships to take alternate routes, hoping to escape the subtle human control. Yet each ship immediately faced anomalies, gravitational shifts, unexpected energy fluctuations, and sensor errors that rendered navigation impossible. It was as if the space itself was bending to human will. How can they do this? Threx demanded. No species can control space itself. Vec looked him in the eye. It's not space, Captain. It's information, planning, anticipation. Humans have learned to control outcomes before they happen. That is how they defend themselves. Even the Velkari engineers were baffled. Ships' systems were intact, yet inefficiency spread like a disease. Engines consumed fuel faster. Energy transfers lagged. Internal communications were subtly delayed. Every human action or inaction shifted the balance against the Velkari quietly and efficiently. The Velkari realized the true cost of ignoring humanity. It was not the damage they suffered. It was the loss of freedom and control. Every movement they made was anticipated, every decision countered, and every plan quietly nullified. They had entered what they assumed was a weak system, but now they understood. Nothing in human space obeyed their assumptions. Threx called a meeting of all senior officers. Maps flickered, systems hummed, and the room was tense with uncertainty. We have tried to assert control, Threx said. We have tried to chart, to scan, to move. Every attempt fails. Every system is against us. A senior officer spoke quietly. Captain, maybe we underestimated them. Maybe humans are not primitive. Maybe this patience, this control, is more dangerous than any fleet. Threx's eyes burned. Patience does not win battles, strength does. Vex shook her head. Strength alone cannot win against humans. They outthink, outplan, and outlast. They contain without conflict. They neutralize without aggression. That is their greatest weapon. Another day passed. Supplies reached critical levels. The Velkari fleet's engines strained. Tension spread across the ships like wildfire. Even minor disputes became heated. Officers argued over strategy, blaming one another for failures that were never truly their fault. Then a small human vessel arrived. It drifted into the Velkari formation with no aggression, no weapons, no shields raised. A message came. Velkari Union Fleet, further violation of human space will result in monitoring and strategic containment. All fleet movements are being observed and countered. Cooperation is advised for your safety. Threx slammed his fist. They mock us. We are the Velkari. We cannot be contained. Vex's calm voice cut through his anger. Captain, they do not need to mock. They control everything already. You cannot escape. You cannot resist. Every action you take is anticipated. Every plan you make is countered. The fleet began to feel the suffocating weight of inevitability. Supplies dwindled further. Engines overheated. Communication systems, once flawless, now faltered. Ships attempting to leave human space were slowed, rerouted, or forced to return. Threx finally realized the truth, bitter and humiliating. We are trapped, not by weapons, not by force, but by intelligence. Vec nodded. Yes, Captain, the warning was not a threat. It was a promise. You have ignored it. The fleet's officers met again. This time, discussion turned from escape to survival. How long could they remain trapped? How long before supplies failed entirely? How long before their fleet, so proud and powerful, was reduced to inefficiency and frustration? Vec explained further. Humans defend themselves in ways other species cannot imagine. They do not rely on armies. They rely on understanding, observation, prediction. They ensure outcomes before conflict even begins. This is how they contain the Velkari. Captain Threx felt his pride falter. He had always relied on strength, speed, and power. Against humans, none of that mattered. They had entered what they assumed was a weak system, thinking themselves unstoppable. Now, trapped and frustrated, they understood the true cost of their arrogance. Another human message arrived. Velkari Union Fleet, your continued presence violates human boundaries. Compliance ensures safety and efficiency. Resistance is unnecessary, but consequences of continued violation will be unavoidable. You are contained. Threx read the message, bitterness rising. Contained without weapons. Vec nodded. Yes, Captain, that is the human way. They do not attack, they control, they predict, and they win without ever firing a shot. The Velkari fleet realized something even more profound. Their reputation, their power, their history, all meant nothing here. They had assumed superiority over a species they called primitive. They had laughed at the warning. They had ignored it. Now every movement, every decision, every attempt to assert control was neutralized before it began. Humans had not even revealed the full extent of their strategy, and yet the Velkari were helpless. Weeks passed. The Velkari fleet existed in a state of quiet frustration. Supplies dwindled further. Engines overheated. Morale sank. Every attempt to escape failed. And every time a new human vessel appeared, calm, unarmed, precise, the reality became clear. The humans were masters of containment without conflict. Captain Threx finally admitted what no Velkari had dared say aloud. We are not defeated, not yet, but we are trapped, and we have underestimated them terribly. Vec's expression was calm, almost proud. Captain, that is the human way. They do not fight blindly. They do not rely on force. They win by understanding, by patience, by foresight. You have seen only the beginning. The fleet drifted silently through human space. The stars above were bright and peaceful, but beneath that calm surface lay a power the Velkari could not comprehend. They had ignored the warning, laughed at the messages, and assumed victory. Now they understood the cost of that arrogance. And that cost was more terrifying than any battle they had ever faced. Humans did not need to fight to win. They had already done so. The Velkari fleet drifted in the calm, silent human system, yet nothing about it felt peaceful. Captain Threx sat in the command chair of the Valkyr Vanguard, exhausted and frustrated. His ships were strong, his officers skilled, yet none of it mattered. Humans had trapped them without firing a single shot. Lieutenant Vec approached, her expression calm as always. "Captain, we cannot escape. Every path, every system, every attempt has been countered. Humans are not attacking, they are containing us." Threx slammed his fist onto the console. "Containing? This is impossible. They have no weapons to stop us." Vex shook her head. "They do not need weapons. They control outcomes. They predict actions. They neutralize problems before they even occur. Every step we take has already been considered." The fleet remained silent as another human vessel drifted into view. Unlike Velkari's ships, it was small, unarmed, and seemingly ordinary. Yet the presence of that single craft caused the entire fleet to pause. No weapons, no shields, just the calm authority of intelligence. A message appeared across every bridge. "Velkari Union Fleet, your continued presence violates human sovereignty. We offer terms of compliance. Withdraw immediately, acknowledge human boundaries, and agree to monitoring for future actions. Cooperation ensures safety and efficiency." Captain Threx's jaw tightened. "We will not comply with primitives. We are the Velkari. We are not controlled by humans." Vec placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Captain, it is not control through fear or violence. It is control through strategy, observation, and foresight. You are already contained. Fighting will only worsen your situation." The officers whispered among themselves, the tension palpable. Supplies were critically low, engines strained under inefficiency. Communication delays had increased. Every attempt to leave human space ended in frustration and loss. The Velkari had tried arrogance, diplomacy, speed, and force, but all failed. Then a new message arrived, calm and deliberate. "Velkari Union Fleet, the choice is yours. Withdrawal ensures survival. Resistance ensures prolonged containment. Humans do not need to fight. We do not need to chase. We only need to wait and contain. Consider your position carefully." Threx stared at the console, the truth settling over him like a heavy fog. For the first time, he realized that humans had never needed to attack to win. They had already won. How can a species without fleets, without weapons, hold an entire Union fleet?" he muttered. Vec's voice was steady. "Captain, humans are not like other species. They do not rely on brute strength. They rely on intelligence, patience, and understanding. They anticipate actions before they happen. That is why you are trapped." Days turned into weeks. The Velkari fleet remained in stasis, slowly losing morale. Officers argued, attempted new routes, and recalculated strategies, but every action was quietly neutralized. The humans never intervened with force. They did not attack. They did not threaten. They simply ensured that the Velkari could not leave. Finally, Captain Threx called a meeting of all senior officers. The mood was grim. Charts flickered on the holographic table. Data streams filled the room. Every attempt at a new strategy had failed. "We are trapped," Threx said quietly, voice heavy. "We have tried everything. Speed, firepower, intelligence. Nothing works. We are contained." A senior officer spoke up. "Captain, maybe the humans are superior. Not in weapons, but in thought, strategy, planning. Every move we make is anticipated, every action countered." Threx shook his head, angry, frustrated, but unable to deny the truth. "We ignored the warning. We thought humans were weak, primitive, and incapable. Now we know we were wrong." A human vessel arrived alongside the fleet, calm and unarmed. A new message appeared. "Velkari Union Fleet, you are contained. We offer terms of withdrawal. Accept and you may leave safely. Refuse and containment will continue. Humans do not need to attack to achieve victory. Your choice is yours." Threx read the message again and again. Finally, he realized the truth. Humans did not need weapons to defeat them. They had already contained the fleet using strategy, foresight, and precision. He nodded slowly. "Very well," he said. "Prepare the message of compliance. We will withdraw." Vec's eyes softened. "Captain, this is the wisest choice. Humans win without attacking." You have seen the strength of intelligence and patience. The fleet prepared to withdraw. The human systems subtly guided the Velkari ships along safe paths, ensuring no accidents, no conflicts, no losses. The humans did not fire. They did not threaten. They simply managed the outcome. As the Velkari fleet left human space, Captain Threx sent a final message of acknowledgement. We acknowledge human sovereignty. We will withdraw. We will not violate your space again. The response was simple and calm. Acknowledged. Safe travels. As the fleet drifted beyond the edge of human space, the Velkari officers stared at the stars in silence. No words could describe what they had witnessed. A species they had assumed to be primitive had outsmarted them at every turn. They had been contained, controlled, and neutralized, not with weapons but with intelligence. Captain Threx finally spoke, his voice quiet and reflective. We have learned a lesson, one we will never forget. Humans are different, not weak, not primitive, but the most dangerous species we have ever underestimated. Vex smiled faintly. Not dangerous, Captain, precise, patient, intelligent. Humans win without fighting because they understand that victory comes from control, not destruction. The Velkari fleet departed, humbled and thoughtful. Across the galaxy, reports would spread of a species that required no weapons to contain fleets, that commanded outcomes through intelligence alone, and that had outsmarted one of the most powerful civilizations in the known universe. Other species quietly updated their star charts. Boundaries were redrawn. Routes avoided human space. Trade agreements and exploratory missions were altered. Every species understood, without needing to be told, that humans were a force unlike any other. Captain Threx watched the stars fade behind them and whispered almost to himself, "We ignored the warning, and it cost us more than pride. It cost us freedom." Vec placed a hand on his shoulder, her tone calm but resolute. "Captain, humans always remember. They do not fight blindly. They do not need to. They wait. They observe. And when the time is right, they ensure outcomes without needing to attack." The message spread silently across the galaxy. Humanity does not conquer through force. Humanity contains through intelligence. Enter their space only with permission. Those who ignore the warning are already defeated. And so, the Velkari Union returned to its territory, humbled, cautious, and forever changed. The humans had demonstrated that strength is not always measured by weapons, that victory does not always come from firepower, and that the most powerful force in the galaxy is a species that understands patience, intelligence, and strategy. Human space remained quiet and peaceful, yet now the galaxy regarded it with respect, caution, and awe. Humans had shown that even the mightiest fleet could be contained, without a single shot fired. And somewhere in the heart of human space, the systems waited silently, precisely, and patiently, ready to ensure that any future intruder would make the same mistake, ignoring the warning. The Velkari had learned the hard way. Humans were not to be underestimated. And that, more than anything, was humanity's greatest power.